Lucky Boys Podcast.
Welcome to Lucky Boys Podcast. This is Will.
I'm Norm.
And we have a special guest, our good friend Lex. Lex Ham. How are you?
What up?
So, yeah, we were talking about a bunch of things prior to here. I mean, I feel like it's been years since I bumped into you.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a long time. You know, I've just been doing a lot too. So 1 year, it just even feels like 5 years.
Seriously,
So,
man. I mean, we went from seeing each other a lot. I mean, we crossed roads so many times in our lives. And we kind of just jumped all over the place since. And, you know, life happens. And, I guess people go their different ways, but they kind of weave back in. It's so interesting how that happens.
Yeah.
But you in particular, you've been up to something completely different than most people. You've been a part of so many different movements.
So many.
Especially with like the timing of this is kind of crazy because we have all this stuff going on in the world today. Right? In the world of wokeness now, that seems to be the trend, right? Everyone's becoming woke to several issues, whether pertaining to equal rights, gay rights, black rights, Asian rights, all across the board.
Yeah. I mean, like I personally just don't even like the term woke, you know, because there are a lot of woke folks who are pretty ignorant. You know, to certain aspects of life, you know, so
there's like a negative connotation to that now.
Yeah, because, you know, sometimes, you know, folks who are awakened to a lot of the social injustices in our society, you know, they start studying up on it and they have a certain level of knowledge that some others don't, you know, some people are completely ignorant to. And sometimes, you know, these folks can be very condescending towards people who are not as woke. Okay. You know, and when we
say woke, we mean aware of certain social issues that's going on.
Yeah, certain social issues, understanding, you know, how maybe systematic racism works, how there's just so many matrices and there's just so many levels, and I think it's unfair to be condescending to people who are not aware, you know.
So in some sense, instead of trying to bring unity to the situation, they're actually causing another
division.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, sure, there is like within the Asian American community, there's anti-blackness, you know, but there's also anti-Asianness too. You know, there's like the Asian Americans. We're such a wide diaspora of people, you know, with different economic levels, so many different races, you know, different, you know, countries, different cultures, philosophical ideologies, political ideologies, religion. Right. There's just so many like different levels, but the fact of the matter is that in our country, we're all treated the same. We're pretty much treated like this entire group. We're not a monolith, but our entire group is pretty much treated the same in the country. So we need to, if we're going to have ways to advance all of us, right? We have to understand this common struggle that we have as Asian Americans so that we can push forward together. Because right now there's too much division and infighting, and we need to find common grounds.
Yeah, I feel like there's too much noise, right? Yeah. People they're not looking at the bigger picture, and then they're not focused on the actual message. Instead of they're focused on what makes us different. Yeah,
and that's also a thing that is part of the American culture too, is like this individualistic endeavor, you know, a fight for individualism that completely throws away collectivism, you know, and our collective roles in our society, you know, what we can do together, you know.
That being said, what kind of movements are you behind?
So many. I've been, you know, I've been volunteering full-time since September. I started volunteering full-time since September for Andrew Yang's campaign.
Right. You were making a lot of noise for Andrew Yang.
Yeah, because there was a media blackout on him for his entire run.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, the media didn't want to talk about him when he was in different standings, you know, in the polls or in fundraising. Yeah, but they would cut him out.
Yeah,
they would cut
I
him
saw
out
that.
and put other people that were polling lower or fundraised less above him. Or
why is that?
I can't say. There's so many theories. And I think mainly it talks about like the invisibility of Asians in our country.
Right, but he was polling better than a lot of the other candidates.
Yeah, and they excluded him. They'll say his name wrong. They'll put pictures
the wrong
of other photos of other people on
other Asians.
Yeah, other Asians. It was like the most insane thing. And
how disrespectful.
Yeah, it was crazy. And he got more media coverage the day he dropped out than he had like the entire year. It was the most insane kind of thing, and he was like around 5th place.
Right. He finally got his name right after he dropped out. Right? That's so messed up.
So he was nobody knew who he was, right? Nobody. I didn't know who he was, right? And he was a complete nobody in a field of 30 that were like sitting governors, well-known like congressmen and senators, and
people with a higher political resume than
him, and he outlasted all of them. Through grassroots,
real issues with real solutions.
Yeah, real solutions.
That's what I found most. It wasn't his charisma. It wasn't his looks. It wasn't because we look. Our eyes do the same thing.
Yeah.
It was the ideas. It was just the brain behind everything that made me go, oh my gosh, this guy. I gotta tell you, man. I would have loved to see him go up for election.
I mean, of course,
this election,
of course,
than what we have now.
He was the best chance at beating Trump because most like the people who supported Andrew Yang, they were Trump voters, conservatives,
right,
libertarians, independents,
I forgot about that.
Progressives, liberals, mainstream Democrats, and people who don't give a fuck about politics. And because he was a heterodox, he identified the problems, and gave a macro perspective of what's going on in our country, and talked about, like, you hear politicians, they talk about the economy, they talk about immigration, they talk about healthcare, education, et cetera, right?
All the checklists.
And they have their viewpoints on it, right? But Andrew Yang was the first person that I ever heard talk about all those things and how they're interconnected. And what are the root problems of our society and how do we solve those problems? And he gave reasonable solutions, because when I first heard about him, right, a friend, he's like, oh, have you heard about this guy named Andrew Yang running for president? It was like January 2019. And I was like, the Asian guy, the business dude?
I think that was a lot of people's initial way to kind of introduce him, like the Asian guy,
the business dude. Like,
I hope he doesn't embarrass us.
Yes, exactly. It's always that. We always think that he doesn't embarrass us, right? And I was like, and I'm thinking, Trump is in power. Like, there's a huge divide in our country. I feel like our country is inherently racist. Definitely not. He had no chance in hell, right? And then my friend was like, I understand why you feel this way. But he's going to be on the Joe Rogan podcast next month, February. And, he has really great ideas, really, interesting perspectives. So I'm like, all right, I like Joe Rogan. He's entertaining. I like what, the conversations that he has. And when the podcast came out, the first 15 minutes, I was just like, holy shit, he has the answers. He identified the problems. He has ideas and solutions. And I'm like, I didn't care. Him being Asian didn't, at that point was a wash.
Right.
It was like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, this guy knows how to fix all of this, and we need him to lead the country.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, he was like an Asian unicorn.
Yeah.
Like I just, when I heard him speak, I was like, oh my gosh, he's shredding on the debate. Like they didn't even want to ask him questions.
No,
because he was shredding, and there was no. I think they tested trying to
they tried to trap him. They tried to bait him into answering questions about China and all this other stuff.
But he was way too
ahead of the curve. And he had the least speaking time in every single debate.
And was it me, or did you also notice that it seemed like no other politician wanted any smoke with Andrew Yang?
They didn't want no smoke with him.
Right?
They didn't want no smoke because you can't argue the facts.
Right.
You know, because the entire...
And he just knew more. He just knew more facts than they did. They had talking points.
They had talking points. They have their advisors, policy advisors that tell, you know, say this is
Stay
what you need
lane.
to do. Yeah.
Do this.
Yeah, this is what, you know, the black people like to hear. This is what, you know, conservatives like to hear. This is what, you know, and you
poll
say,
better if you'll poll better if you say these words.
Yeah. And Andrew's just like, well, no, I'm just going to tell you what I think. You know, this is
to be fair, I feel like Andrew Yang did have talking points as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff he did was, I heard
over and over again. Yeah.
And I understand why. But when it's up for the debate part of it, you can clearly see that his ideas were superior.
Yeah, they're infinitely superior.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, I hate to say it, but if he wasn't Asian, would he be going against Trump now? Would he have
I
been?
think so. Partially, yeah. I mean, that's
maybe not,
factor.
right? But here's one thing I will say: he would have been covered more.
Oh yeah, by far. Yeah.
Okay. He would have been covered more fairly. More people would have knew about him. They wouldn't just cancel him out.
Yeah.
Right. Dismiss him only because the way he looks.
Yeah.
You know, like because a lot of people aren't used to seeing an Asian man. That's why that's why I say
that's
like a
one
unicorn.
factor. Like, yeah, the way he looks, but like, you know, maybe that is, maybe that's not. You know, I feel like that is working in entertainment. You know, and understanding. You know, how we're painted as, you know, in this country. You know, but also, you know, he talked the truth. He talked the reality that you know, most news outlets couldn't like sensationalize.
Right.
Too. You know,
and he's very articulate.
Yeah, incredibly articulate.
And you met him.
Yeah, many times.
You met him many times. How is he like as a person when the cameras aren't rolling?
He's just a regular guy. Like, he just, like, what I like about him is that he's a regular guy who just happens to be really smart. You know, he's like a normal dude.
That's kind of what I got from watching him during the interviews. I'm like, man, I could chill with this dude.
Yeah,
you know, he seemed like a cool dude, and I could listen to him speak about several things, and it doesn't even have to be about politics, just regular life. Yeah. And I feel like we could relate on a lot of things. Like, and he just seemed like somebody that I know.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like he's switching up his personality because he's on camera.
Yeah.
It just feels like he's just a normal guy who, like you said, like he's a smart guy, and then he's able to articulate his points clearly.
Yeah, and he's himself the whole way through. He's like, it feels genuine, it feels authentic. You know, that's the problem with a lot of these politicians is because with their political self, when they're campaigning and when they're talking to crowds, they have a particular facade and persona that they're putting out there, right? But then when you get them into like a podcast setting and you're just sitting with them and you're having a conversation, it's their personality shows, and that's what people like. That's what people love. You know, it's a big reason why we have like Trump right now is you know, people are tired of these career politicians. You know, like on the Republican side, they were done with the politicians, and they were like, okay, he may say the wrong things and he, you know, says off-color things, but we know who he is. You know, he's had media exposure for decades, right? But people know, like this, we know who he is. You know, this is exactly, even if he's lying. You know, he's genuinely who he is.
So they're just tired of the fakeness. They just want someone that's real. For better or for worse, America wants someone that's real.
Yeah, but for better or worse, America wants, you know, someone who's real, and you know, Trump spoke to a lot of the hurt that people were going throughout the entire country. You know, we had Trump saying "Make America Great Again." Right. Meanwhile, Hillary and her camp was like, America is already great. America is already fine. But if you go into the middle of the country and you see all these communities that got decimated by automation, by you know, Amazons, and you see tech companies that completely pulled talent and brain drained these talents to the West Coast and San Francisco area, New York, Atlanta, to all these metropolitan hubs, and nothing comes back to the community, and people don't have any jobs. People have turned to, got addicted to opioids, right? And they got, and once their prescription ran out, they turned to like fentanyl and all these things. So we had the highest suicide rates in our history.
Right.
In Middle America. In Middle America.
In the middle of America.
Yeah, and that's where you were canvassing. So you were boots on the ground, kind of seeing all this play out.
Yeah, and it was and the first time I heard of it was really when I heard Andrew Yang speak. I was completely like, I'm from New York, born and raised, right? I had moved out to LA, so my perspective really of America comes from these two coastal metropolitan bubbles. Right. That doesn't represent everywhere else. But then when I found, when Andrew was talking about like what's going on in our country, like 78% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck.
That's crazy,
right? Over half Americans cannot afford an unexpected $400 bill, right? So, and if you're struggling, your bandwidth is just trying to survive,
Absolutely.
right? And so when you're trying to survive, you lose your IQ, your mental capacity.
You're not going out there learning new things. You're just focused on
trying to survive. So then you have Trump that comes in and says, "Oh, it's the Mexicans, it's the immigrants, it's whoever." And it gives people like, "Oh, okay."
And now, most recently, is the Chinese.
It's the Chinese,
he creates a fictional enemy, a target, so that we can all gang up together and go, it's them. Down with them. Oh, forget about it. It's a deflection. It's a tactic.
It's scapegoating. It's instead of like looking at ourselves as a country, what's going on with ourselves and how can we help and uplift our country. So when I heard Andrew Yang speak, he just okay, we need to do universal basic income, right? This would give a baseline that would help solve this. Even at $1,000 a month, if the poverty line is at $12,000 a year, right, that $1,000 a month for every adult would uplift the entire country out of poverty.
Amazing. That sounds absolutely terrific, and I am all for UBI. I mean, hey, give me $1,000 extra in my. I mean, I will not fight against that and give my buddy that's struggling $1,000 extra. I'm all for that. It's beautiful. Here's the thing where I feel a lot of people are skeptical of.
Yeah, sure.
They love Andrew Yang. They love what he's saying. They love the message. Who wouldn't want $1,000? But is it going to be one of those things where we go, man, yes. Like, let's say Andrew Yang did get in office, and we're all like, oh my gosh, absolutely, yes, he's our guy. We're gonna get all this, and it's just candy in your when he gets to office, thinking that he's gonna be able to make all these changes that they were just words. No fault to his own. It's due to the system. He needs other people's approval, and only to get into office and go, oh my God, I can't really. His hands are tied.
Well, the president can't do everything. Right, one person can't do everything. It may feel like Trump's doing everything, but you have to have.
But it's also the president's job to persuade and unite, and implement some of these ideas. Otherwise, they're just words. Right?
Yeah, so that's why Andrew Yang was great, because if you looked at his followers, the people that support him, they're everyone. And we're talking about like universal basic income. This was like a Republican conservative idea. A conservative state right now, like Alaska, has had a form of UBI for the past 40 years.
Right.
So, because you can't demonize money, giving money. Like the thing that makes it, that would stigmatize it is like conditional, like because it's universal, it's for everyone. Right. Everyone gets it. Right. You can't
it's not like, hey, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I'm paying taxes for you to get money. And that's what a lot of our politics are, and where a lot of our disagreements are. It's like, oh, I'm putting out for you guys, instead of you contributing and earning.
I would have loved to see Andrew Yang in office take that seat.
Yeah. And white people, brown people, black people about Andrew Yang. Like, they're like, wow, this is incredible. Like, I love his ideas. I love what this is about. And then, but I get the most pushback from Asians.
Right?
Asian Americans.
Isn't that strange?
Interesting.
Yeah, most pushback.
Yeah, most of the things I hear about Andrew Yang that are not kind words are from other Asians.
Yeah, what do you hear?
Like 99% of it.
Yeah, what do you usually hear?
Like first is a doubt. From this is the older
I had it too, so I think that's reasonable
but
too.
But this is more along the older generation. They're like, there'll never be an Asian an Asian man sit on that seat as a president of the United States.
Yeah.
Not happening. Yeah. This is the older generation that I speak to, right? Our parents and you know, people that got a few decades on us. Now, when I speak to the people that are within our peer group, what they say, I mean, the people that are against them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, they just don't think that he is able to, he's strong enough to implement any of these plans. And they're also concerned about how he will address China, Russia, Korea, North Korea. So they're concerned about that. And those are the people that feel that Trump is doing a great, at the other hand, they feel like Trump is doing a great job addressing China, Russia, Korea,
Trump
Korea.
is like, he's going, you know, he's going against like a lot of the, where he feels America has been disadvantaged in a lot of like trade policies or whatever. So I understand that sentiment, you know, but Trump has just created so many enemies, you know, and has proven to our allies that we're not like reliable.
Right.
So,
do you think those enemies were necessary?
No.
When you take a stand for yourself and you aren't going to let other people take advantage of you, I mean, you would create an enemy, right?
You create enemies, but there's
you said it was always like this before. Why are you going to come here and change it?
Yeah, I mean, of course you're gonna create, but there's a way to make change that brings people in, you know. So Trump's way of creating change is like castigating other people, you know, speaking out against other people instead of like trying to bring people in. So I think that was a clear difference between Andrew Yang and Trump, is that he was able to bring everyone in, get everyone to buy into
more
a vision.
Inclusive.
Yeah,
of
but
everybody.
Here's the thing, like I don't think a lot of people believe that, you know, they're too cynical.
Yeah, because they didn't hear him speak. Most people didn't hear him speak. Everyone, like the Asians that were very much against Andrew Yang were against him because they felt like he perpetuated a lot of stereotypes. You know, Asian stereotypes, you know, Asians are great at math or whatever, you know, like the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math, you know, it was a joke, right? But, you know, he didn't literally mean math, because math came out of the movement. It came out from people because he backed all of his ideas and solutions by data and numbers, where people were yelling math, show us the math at rallies.
Right.
So they're like, okay, let's come up with, you know, let's put out math hats, and they sold out immediately. Right. So
first of all, I have no problem
Yeah.
With the whole math thing with Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty awesome.
But math really stands for Make America Think Harder.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that, I'm like, and
well, I like what he did there too, the double entendre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we have to think. So Asians that are against Andrew, they could not see past like, oh, the stereotype.
They didn't like it when he said Asians need to learn how to be more American.
Yeah,
to prove themselves.
Well, he never said prove, right?
Oh,
we have to display our Americanness, right?
Right.
So this was during COVID.
That's the way they
crisis.
took it, though.
Yeah, of course. Well, they took a section of a Washington Post op-ed,
exactly,
right?
And
no one read. Most people did not read that entire article because it was behind a paywall, and when none of us paying for that shit. Get the fuck out of here.
That's true, man. There are times, man. You gotta make these things free for us.
Yeah. So
and they all went crazy on the social media. They all jumped on them.
So you had a bunch of outspoken voices who took that paragraph, that portion, and mischaracterized it.
Now, is that
like
the woke group that you're talking about that would do
some
something like that? Because I'm new to this.
Some regular, you know,
Asian
that got
wokeness.
like just got like, oh, we got like, oh, being more American means being more white, you know, and that's not what American means, being more white. You know, because so that's a thing that our community has a perspective of what being American is.
Right.
You know, but I'm American as fuck.
Right.
You know, I love being a New Yorker.
Right.
You know, I am who I am. And when I was gonna move to Greece, you know, I bought like my a Yankee cap, right? With the July 4th, you know, Yankee cap that has the stars and stripes, because to remind myself wherever I go, you know, I'm a New Yorker.
Right.
I'm an American, you know, I'll never forget that, even though there's so much stuff that's going on in my country that I'm not proud of,
Right.
you know, but I'm proud of who I am and where I'm from, you know, but that doesn't mean I'm more white,
Right.
you know, like,
right.
identifying as a New Yorker, as an American. I ain't more white. Get out of here.
Some people, I mean, we had Kenny on the podcast, Kenny Lamb.
Yeah.
And, he does think that people who are Asian or Chinese in particular should be more American and display it.
Yeah, but what is he like? It depends on what.
So that they could come to a mutual understanding.
I think we just need to be more outspoken, right? Like, I have an organization, a nonprofit called Asians in America, right? And during this crisis, kind of taking Andrew's lead about showing Americanness or what we do. Like Asian Americans, we do so much grassroots activities already, but we just put our heads down, we do the good deed, we know we did a good thing, and keep it moving. Right. But, we're not outspoken enough, so because we're not seen, we're not heard, we're invisible in our country.
Right.
We need to be, so I created like, a way to like, okay, we need to, I became part of this group called Asians in America. We got meals, paid meals, from Asian American small businesses that have been struggling since January with coronavirus, right? Got Asian American volunteers to grab these meals and volunteer to deliver them to frontline heroes and document the whole thing. Right. And get, to like, we shouldn't have to show and prove like our Americanness, that we belong in our country. But the fact of the matter is that we're invisible in our country. So who's going to shine a light on that? Who's going to show that? You're going to expect white people, black people, brown people to do that for us? We have to do this.
That was the exact argument that I had with Kenny.
Yeah.
Where I felt like, look, no one's going to come and help you unless you help yourself first. Yeah. And that was part of the Black Lives Movement. Yeah. The black people, they've been screaming about this for decades. Yeah. And I'm glad to see that most of us are finally listening. And we're joining the cause. Yeah. I mean, if you look at your T-shirt, it says, for those of you listening, Lex is wearing an Asian for Black Lives. Yeah. And now, what's your reason? Why are you standing for that? Why are you there at the protest?
Well, since the protest started, I saw different Asians throughout, the protests, and seeing different groups come out in support of Black Lives Matter, right? And the Asian community is kind of like split down the middle about whether to support like Black Lives Matter or like, why should we? Because when we were going through our racism and xenophobia during the coronavirus, right? We felt like we didn't receive any sympathy. Instead, we got mocked more.
Mocked, beat up,
like, picked on. So we were picked on, beat up, and mostly and the violence that we got was mostly by Black and brown folks. Right. So, and then
at least the ones that were recorded that's being put out there on social media.
Yeah. The most that we saw, was from Black and brown folks. Right. And then, and also like when we expressed our grievances, we had a lot from, Black and brown communities that, oh, y'all deserve it. You never stood up for us, this and that. Right. I've heard that. So people like, were like,
now hesitant. You know what it feels like to be one of us.
Yeah. Now you know what it feels like. Yeah. But meanwhile, we've been going through our struggles for decades and, we've been, abused and whatever, but we're just not vocal enough. That's why I hate the model
minority myth. And you're right. That's exactly it. We're not vocal enough.
We're not vocal enough.
So then, since we're not vocal enough, everybody else gets to tell a story on what it's like to be Asian, and they're not Asian.
Yeah.
That's a crazy thing.
Yeah, because
all Asians do well. How come Asian immigrants are able to come to this America and then be one of the highest?
Yeah, but that's how we're used in systematic.
And that's completely
racism.
incorrect.
Yeah,
I can tell you that's 100% false.
Yeah, and especially in New York, right? The Chinese community occupies the bottom 10% of the economic scale.
Right.
Right.
That's no surprise to me.
Yeah. Because you from the hood.
That said, so we're still here. Us three. As Asian Americans, we're still here going, yo, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, so because I had a lot of, I guess, things stories I've heard about us involved with the civil rights movement. But what opened my eyes much more was watching Asian Americans on PBS, that 5-hour series, right? And it gave a clear picture of are like, it kind of just only scratched the surface.
That's the title of the show on PBS. It's called Asian Americans.
Yeah,
it's a 5-hour series.
5 hour. Okay. Yeah, it was broken up into like 2 or 3 parts. And so there I learned, like, blacks and Asians have been historically fought side by side for many of the civil rights that we enjoy today.
That's what a lot of people don't know. Asians and blacks don't know that.
Yeah,
that our history
are interconnected.
Yeah, we
were also slaves.
We
supported one another.
Yeah.
And if you look at us, like I even think a lot of Asian and blacks look alike. You take out the skin tone.
Hell yeah.
You take out the skin tone, our cheekbones, our nose. We have a lot of the same features. I joke, but my friends used to joke all the time when I was growing up with them, and they were like, Will, like he's black. Will's black. Look at him. We put.
It's also the way you talk from the hood,
right. The way I play basketball.
The
way I'm actually bad at math. They're like, oh yeah, Will, Will's like one of us, And then one of my black friends, my black roommates, with Bernard, he would joke. He would be like, yo, Will, I'm more Chinese than you. Yeah. Because he couldn't play basketball. He was really good at math.
Yeah.
You spoke Chinese,
and,
no,
he didn't speak Chinese. No. But we're so interconnected, and for whatever reason I feel like there's a force trying to divide us.
Of course, there's
and
always
make us fight against one another.
Racism is a social construct,
Absolutely.
that is utilized to divide people and pit people against each other. So the people who, like, whoever does this, right, they're trying to maintain power. It's just a simple divide and conquer. You have people, like, if people's bandwidth is just fighting amongst themselves, then
they have no room to grow.
They have no room to grow. They have no room to fight the real fight.
Right.
And bring power back to
right. And they're just hurting each other.
Yeah.
So let them go at it.
Yeah. And let them waste their time.
It's just a distraction.
It's a big distraction, and and the fortunate thing about, like, the pandemic is that, it got people to be inside, be like, absorb more, see like what's going on. And that's a big reason why we have a lot of the protests, is because people are like, have been absorbing, waking up a little bit, and just are fed up, So historically we fought along side by side together. Black Americans fought, like, for the Immigration Act that allowed many people to come in. It opened up immigration for many Asian people, right? But just along the lines throughout the past few generations, decades, the lines of communications between both communities have been lost.
Yeah.
Leading to a lot of ignorance of each other.
Right.
And also these things were also not taught in schools. So we're here, we don't also know about what's going on.
Right.
We don't know our history. We don't know our past. We don't, like, our history of unity and coming together is not taught. We're taught about our white saviors, the white heroes, who've done so much for slavery and this and that, but we're not taught.
The Last Samurai starting Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Last of the Mohicans?
Yeah.
Let's go further back. Last of the Mohicans?
Yeah.
So these are the stories that are ingrained. And when we have our kids that go to school, this is how white supremacy is taught, indoctrinated into people, so, and the immigrants that come, they don't know the history.
Right.
And they don't have an understanding of what's going on. So they come, and their ground zero is the moment they landed. Right. Not like what happened in the past. Right. And also, it's not, like, encouraged or talked about. So I saw there was a Asian for Black Lives Matter, like they did one event in LA, right? And I'm like, yo, I need to do something right now. I need to get us together, and make a stand, because, we can say, oh, they didn't support us, we won't support them, and they never supported us, and, like, we just build this vicious cycle, So I wanted to, like, okay, we need to make a stand now, right, and show love and support, and build this virtuous cycle of support. Like, we came out so that when we have our issues again, we can, like, lean on the bridges and the alliances and the partnerships that we had built throughout, like, supporting each other.
So I guess that's where you came from a position of, you know what? F all that. I want, F all that noise. I see what's going on.
Yeah.
They're trying to divide us. They're moving from a place of, they want us to move from a place of hate and judgment and saying, well, no, you know how I feel now. Or you're the one that's always beating me up and picking on me. Well, I'm going to, you know what? No, I'm going to speak out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak out for us as Asians, and I'm going to speak out for them as blacks, because I see what's going on here, and I think we're much more powerful together. And actually, we have a lot more common than we actually think.
By far.
I actually think we want the same things.
We do want the same things. We do want many of the same things. We're just taught to and been conditioned to hate each other. Essentially, be ignorant of each other. And, it just had to start somewhere. I couldn't wait for, our next thing and then try to build bridges. Like, this is what's going on now. There is a huge civil rights movement going on right now.
Yeah.
And what are we doing as a community to step up to the plate?
And here's what trips me out, that we don't have more Asian American voices that are celebrities in front of the camera already, that's already solidified their position. Speak up about this.
Yeah.
I want to know, and they don't have to. It's not their responsibility.
Yeah.
I get it if that's not their grind. But I also want to know, if I'm going to support you, I want to know where you stand on this. Yeah. It's important to me.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well,
and other Asian Americans and other people and Black Americans and Hispanics and otherwise, I'm pretty sure they want to know where they stand on this.
Yeah. I mean, there are quite a bunch of Asians that are speaking for like Black Lives Matter, right? The unfortunate thing is that there are more Asians speaking for Black Lives Matter than there were Asians speaking against the racism, xenophobia we're facing during coronavirus and the pandemic.
Yeah.
So and it's
that's
so
what
disheartening.
Makes me,
it's so disheartening.
And then it makes you go, are they doing this for more
something like clout or something, or some?
So there is
they're
such a
getting
thing.
social points here.
There is that too. I mean,
like
I don't know who is doing that.
Exactly,
I can't pinpoint, but there is.
Like, where were you during COVID?
Yeah, where were you during COVID? Where were you? Like, why were you not utilizing your platforms? We all have platforms. You have a platform. We have we all have why are you not utilizing it?
A very large platform.
Yeah.
Okay, when they speak, it's gonna make headlines. All right, when we speak, it's just gonna it's within a bubble.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I was so upset with in our community was that when Andrew Yang, because he was the most prominent Asian American in our society, right? Just he name recognition, everyone knew, people started knowing who he was, especially when he started political commentating, after he dropped out. Just his name recognition was huge, right? And with all his endorsements, he was working on this campaign called All Americans campaign. We are all Americans, all of us, right? And he utilized his platform to get celebrities of all different colors to speak out against the racism and the xenophobia that we were facing, and also speak out about the Latino and the Black communities that were suffering so much throughout the coronavirus, pandemic as well, right? And the thing but the Asian Americans, they were just so quick to just shut him down because of that one paragraph. But meanwhile, discounting all that work that he was bringing, all these voices that he was trying to bring to an awareness that he was bringing to the suffering that we were having. And I'm thinking you have all this energy to bring down Andrew Yang, but where's your energy to stand up for us? Yeah. Where is it?
Yeah.
Where? Why are you and from the outside looking in, white people, Black people, brown people, they're looking at it, it's why are they cannibalizing themselves? Why are they attacking this guy? From what they can see is just trying to bring people together, uplift people, just trying to make some kind of good out of this really shitty situation right now. Why are they attacking him? They didn't maybe we saw it as or Asians saw it as we need to become more white. But everyone else saw it as, we don't know much about you because you're not outspoken enough.
He's the only one outspoken enough to say something.
And then he gets attacked by us. It's
But those people that attacked him, probably, I'm willing to make a bet on the table and say they never supported him in the first place.
They never supported him. They did have it out for him. A lot of the criticism.
They're just waiting.
They have been waiting. They've been waiting for him to slip up, waiting for him to say something that like supports their narrative of him.
Now, is that the woke Asian group?
Before
yes. The podcast, we were talking about woke Asians and how that's like a whole new segment.
Yeah.
And at the start of it, you were saying, I mean, you touched on it. You said they're the type that will shame you if you aren't at their level of wokeness.
Yeah.
Creating division.
Yeah.
So is that the same? And I'm not too aware of this group, but I have heard of it as well.
Yeah.
Are they this? Is that group what's their agenda?
I don't know. I really don't know. Like it seems like the agenda is for social equality.
Like, is it righteous? Is it a good cause? Or is it just negative and toxic?
The aim
that's
is...
what I'm trying to figure out.
The aim is, I think, is good, right? Okay. My problem with it is, the way you talk to people, and try to bring people in, and
it's
then
divisive.
It's divisive, right? So then when I share that, then I'm tone policing. And I understand
so many fucking rules to this game, man.
It's and I'm just trying to express like this is not like I don't feel good like when you talk to me this way, and then like it's like, oh, I don't care if you feel good or not. You need to educate yourself. You need to and I don't want to go through the emotional labor of educating you. And just the thought, like when you hear another adult, say like you need to be educated. Like it's
condescension,
just it's very
condescending.
Condescending, yeah.
Condensation is something completely different.
True,
so
very true.
and I try to get people to hear that or understand that. And then I become the enemy because I'm trying to find reason, right? And I understand like tone policing where, when I'm like where it's utilized to invalidate someone's points.
Are they just attacking other Asians?
It's mainly,
yes,
mainly. I mean, I don't know because I just am very outspoken,
right. But are they attacking other? I shouldn't say attack. Are they calling out people that are not Asian? I mean, I don't know about that. I'm just trying to.
I don't see it. But maybe
learn about this group.
I mean, I don't see that, but also I'm not following their every move.
Are they made up of Ivy League? Are they Harvard grads, Yale?
I don't know.
Are they just,
I don't know.
Gamers that sit in their mama's basement and little nerds?
Gamers are, that's a different category. Like, I feel like they care even less about all this kind of stuff,
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'll play my games. I got my food.
They'll say
mukbangs.
They'll say the most ignorant stuff. They'll say racist things, but not mean.
So they're not gamers.
Yeah, I don't
I don't know their Ivy League brains, but they sound very intelligent.
They seem very articulate in their points, and there are certain probably reading materials, a certain language that is learned through these articles.
So what inspires them? What is it? What is their, what is their God? You know what I mean? What do they look at? What are they pointing at?
I don't know. I would love to give you an answer. I would love to maybe give some theories, but I really don't know, and if I say I know and then it goes out and then I'm oh, how dare you speak, you don't know anything about us. I'm like,
here comes the sirens.
And that's a problem with I think just our society and a problem with.
So aren't they tone policing you?
They're tone policing my tone policing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
My tone policing is being tone policed.
Yeah,
and I feel like my points, so my tone policing is not to invalidate other people. It's hey, I'm trying to get you to understand this person and how to communicate with this person that you do not know, or
see
whatever.
See a different perspective.
Right? But I'm not invalidating what you're saying.
Right. You're not telling them to shut up. What you're saying is bullshit.
Even when we're trying to get to the path of Pangea, where we're just super happy and some utopian, one world, no divided nation. Even when we're on the same side, we can't even agree on that. We still have to create micro divisions within that group.
It's such a
bizarre.
It's a big distraction. I feel like it's a big waste of time. I mean, there are so many valid points that they do make, and it's reasonable. It makes sense, right? But what are we actually doing? What are we doing to actually build? What are we doing to heal the wounds that we're seeing? Right. Is it to call someone out who's ignorant? Right, and shame them and whatever. Like, I see a lot of these woke folks who are outing their parents. Like some of our immigrant parents. They may hold racist views. They may hold whatever, but like they're straight up hating on their parents online. And it hurts my heart. Like, my parents have ignorant views, but I talk to them, I try, and I understand where they're coming from where they are, coming to this country, and understanding, also seeing if you're coming to this country and you're seeing this dynamic of where, okay, black peoples are painted as this, white, so you kind of want to, align yourself accordingly, and I understand that.
There's a certain thing that we need to get clear. And I think, and I've seen it too, where people are outing their parents online. Crazy, right? Because you can't really compare what you went through to your parents' education. It's completely different. Two completely different experiences. Even though you're one generation apart, when it couldn't be any further, because they're coming from another country, and then they're coming into this country to survive. Yeah. They're in survival mode. So you get to kick your feet up, and you have internet. Yeah. And they didn't. So just look at that dynamic through the, one was a digital, one was an analog. Mm-hmm. Now, I do see it that some parents could be prejudiced. Yeah. But Asian parents in particular. Yeah. But what you have to realize that it's not hate. They're not out there trying to kill what they're prejudiced about. They just have certain prejudices because they felt that discrimination towards them at that time.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, like, right. So
if we had, because I can't tell you how many relatives I have that's been mugged by a certain particular group.
Yeah, and that creates prejudice. Like,
it creates prejudice.
So our communities are not talking. Like, since the civil rights movement, our communities had not been talking to each other. Right.
But now they're coming out of it. Yeah. They're learning that, okay, they're coming out of the prejudice. Yeah. But when you have hate and you're attacking and you're killing, that's two completely different things. Yes. They could be prejudiced and go, I don't like that. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. But they're not attacking. They're not, acting beyond that. Mm-hmm. That's, I'm not saying it's right. No. But what I'm saying is they're not double downing. Yeah. They're not going even further in the rabbit hole. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And for you to call out your parents on that, that's bonkers to me. Yeah. Bonkers. Like, that's something online. That's something you should have a discussion with your parents. Yeah. And I feel like that should stay there.
Yeah. So that's where you get social clout. You get clout for outing your parents. You get clout for shitting on other Asians.
You get the likes.
You get the and it creates
people like that. People.
That's So
That's like you ever get, and that's what's weird about social media. These certain rules of engagement, but that's like me calling out. You ever had? And I'm sure you did, like on either on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, where people get in an argument with their significant other, their girlfriends or their boyfriends.
On Facebook? Online?
No. Oh, okay. And they share it online. It's something personal that happened. Yeah. That's why I hate you, and bro, you're such a scumbag, and you're such an. I thought we were meant to be together, and f you. Like, they air their boyfriends, their husbands,
so they can
their
get
girlfriends,
so they
or their
can
wives
get some
out.
sympathy, and like get some.
That's one of those things that I feel should stay within your group of friends and family. That's not for social media consumption.
I mean, I agree.
That's what I mean, you can do that. You can do that. There's nothing illegal or wrong, but you got to see how people digest it around you, and it kind of makes you look silly. Yeah. And when you do that, I mean, you get the sympathy, you'll get the attention that you're looking for, but at the same time, the people giving you the likes and even the comments, they're also, I feel like they're patronizing you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same thing when you do something along the lines of calling out your own mom and dad. They don't raise you, gave you all the love that you ever needed. Yeah. Let's just, and these are the people that I've seen that put it out there. They have good parents. Yeah. Good parents that was there for them. Tried to do everything they can. Work their butt off. Work their butt off.
And they love them in the best way that they can. I think,
right. Like, my parents, you're gonna call them out online.
Yeah. because they're
I understand the conversation face to face, but calling them out online, that's
sort of like throwing them on the bus, like in front of.
Now, if you did that to
audience.
your parents, like what the, like you don't give a f about anyone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where I feel like there is a sort of this phrase I heard. It was social capital capitalists. Like we'll do whatever we need to build our social capital. To show how much more woke we are. Yeah. For those who don't do that, like I commend and praise. For those that do that, it's like, and maybe some people are not even aware. And,
so you think people are just reinventing themselves online?
Yeah, there are a lot of, like, I mean, so many people do. And that's, I think, a toxic thing about social media in general is that, we're able to develop mobs and online mobs and we have a particular viewpoint and we take redacted comments and videos, and cut them up so that it supports our views, and then we push that into our echo chambers, where everyone else has this, and then take that, like, and fuel these emotions, and then take that mob of emotions towards that person, and then it becomes a version of like online bullying and harassment, Sure. Like, and then there's a lot of like, I am for canceling like really fucked up racist Karens. I am for that, right? But, I am not like for just canceling just because someone calls someone a racist. I want to see proof. I want to see, whatever. But also at the same time, I also don't believe really that cancellation really does anything.
It's not healthy dialogue.
There's no healthy dialogue. You don't, there's no rehabilitation. In fact, if that person was racist and hateful, it's going to make that person double down, triple down because you ruined their lives and we all moved on. Their lives have been ruined. Right, and there's no room for them to grow and become better.
I don't know. That's a great point you make, but
I think there's nuances that we need to
I don't know about teaching. I know you could. When people make errors like that, it's good. It's a good teaching moment. Sure, and I get it, but you can't apply that to everything.
Yeah.
All right. If someone's let's say a pedophile.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there's no way you can defend a pedophile in any circumstance.
Exactly. But let's say you're a hateful racist. You're out there, you want everybody to burn that doesn't look like you.
I mean, that's different.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So
then I feel like that needs to be canceled. Like, hell yeah, man. Yeah. I'm with that.
Yeah.
Now I know cancel culture can be very toxic when we start trying to cancel people out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, Justin Bieber recently, there were some accusations on him where he had sex with certain girls and it wasn't mutual, and there were some issues along those lines legally, and basically accused him of some form of rape, and they were like, no, Justin Bieber was like, you know what? No, I got receipts, bitch.
Oh.
And I love that he did that. He pulled it. I mean, I don't want anyone being afraid speaking out when they need to.
No, yeah.
Right? Because that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah.
But there's another form of people speaking out just to try to get someone canceled.
Yeah.
And
or for their own financial
news.
Gain or their own political gain, right? So there's that too. So those people ruin, the real, like, the experiences of real victims.
They're the looters to the protesters.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have these opportunists that come in and do that. So there's this guy named Karan Dillard or whatever, and he took this video of this woman that he followed to her house, right? That, like, apparently she cut him off on traffic and flipped him off, right? Okay. And and then like starts videotaping her, calling her Karen, this and that, whatever, right. And said, oh, you said a racist remark, right? You said the N-word, but throughout this 15 minutes of whatever he was doing with her, he was more concerned about her flipping him off and her cutting him off, but he's calling her racist about it. Right. And then it got this whole, like, everyone's like, oh, cancel this woman. Right.
But she wasn't racist.
She didn't, like, if someone said, like, if someone called me a chink, right? And I was pissed off about that, right? And I found out racist, right? You know, I don't give a hell if you cut me off or you flip me off. I'm going to be bantering like, you racist motherfucker, you call me a fucking chink, you know, like how the fuck you do that, you know? But this guy's video was just about him flipping it off, because she flipped him off and cut him. It made her racist because he's a black person, you know. So
he went straight to racism.
And he
played the race card.
And then he did that. There was another video where he was a Postmates, right? And he this Chinese restaurant, they didn't want to like they said, oh, I need to see your app or whatever,
right,
so to take this, right? And he's the woman said whatever, you know, like it's like it kind of it was a little bit dismissive with him, and then he made this a racist thing. So this guy has a history. Same guy that had a history of this.
So he uses the black card. All the time. Is he black?
Yes. Yeah. Gay black guy.
Okay. So he just leans on that heavily. Because he knows there's power in it.
There's power in that, you know. And these are the people that I feel like ruin the movement.
Oh, for sure.
Like and muddies and makes it like you know, it's really disgusting. You know, it's just really. Just disappointing and disgusting.
Yeah, and there's a history of that, and that's why I feel like a lot of people that aren't black, they tend to lean to that argument, especially those people that were never for sharing their power. They want to go, oh well, they'll
point at that guy
exactly
and invalidate the whole thing
exactly.
You know, and that's a problem too. You know, that's a problem. So it's like, oh, okay. So are you saying if you're taking that logic, then, you know, do these bad apple of cops make all cops bad? You know, or all like that's the only way you have to flip it on that.
We said this over and over till we're blue in our face. All protesters aren't bad. All cops aren't bad.
Yeah.
You know, but are there bad apples in those bunches? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they take advantage of the system that protects cops. There's a system that protects like qualified immunity, 50A. There is a system, you know, that protects police. You know, you have prosecutors that, you know, their job is dependent on their cooperation with police. You know, so and police are not often held accountable for their actions.
No.
You know, they're not. They're not.
No.
Right? So
it's almost like you have a get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Not quite, but almost. Like I can't.
It's really hard.
I can't think of a normal civilian getting away with anything
that the police can get away with.
Right. Yeah. When you're talking about like murder. Right. When you're talking about injustice, like I saw a couple of videos.
They get a paid vacation leave.
They got a paid vacation leave, and I saw a couple of videos where they planted things in a guy's car because they one of my friends sent it to me. He's like, "Man, Will, I hope you talk about this on a podcast." So there you have it. You have it.
Yeah.
I usually don't do that, but it's my buddy, and he sent me a video. He says, "Yo, Will, you gotta look at this," and I'm looking at it, and they pull over this guy, get extremely aggressive with him, and then they go, "We're gonna search your car," and in their camera is going, "Oh man, you find anything?" "No, nothing." And they're going, "Well, we have to find something. And they're getting desperate, and they feel like it's almost like, "Hey, mom and dad's gonna get mad if we got to do this. We got to do this real quick." So they're scheming, and all of a sudden they put like this little crumb of weed, and they find this little crumb, whatever, wherever it didn't even come from that person, but they had this little roach, and they just decided to break it up and then put it inside the person's jacket and go, "Oh, there we knew it. We have probable cause now," and they fucked them up. They I mean, that guy was. And he wasn't in perfect health. And it was tough to watch. It was really tough to watch.
And it's a scary thing when you said that, you know, they were so desperate and they were scared. So who are they scared of? Are they scared of the police department, the employers that hired them? Are they scared of the police chief?
No, I don't think in that video, I didn't see that they were afraid of other people in blue uniforms.
Right.
It was more like, oh snap, if we don't get something for this and they decide to fight back or sue us, or put this out on camera, because the girl was recording as well. And put this out there, we won't have any reason. It's going to look exactly like what it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to look like we just completely profiled
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened.
And it's basically a stop and frisk, but because they had a car, you know, you can you don't have to, you can say something like it wasn't stop and frisk. So we had probable cause.
Yeah.
We smelled weed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And that is another thing.
We need to also
criminalize.
Yeah. We also need to know our constitutional rights, you know, and understand, you know, what cops can and cannot do. And there's so many videos of just Americans, you know, black, white, or whatever, who are just like, no, I'm not opening the window. I refuse to talk. You know, this is, you know, like I refuse to identify myself because am I committing a crime?
Right.
Have I committed a crime? No, you're stopping me under suspicion of a crime, right? But was there a crime committed?
Yeah, but you get the wrong cop.
Yeah, of course you get the wrong
you
cop.
say that and get the wrong cop.
And get fucked up.
You're done.
You're done.
You're done. Even though you have your constitutional rights and by law that should protect you.
Yeah.
Bro,
but
you get the wrong cop.
That's why like $1 billion goes towards like settlements. Like for NYPD, after their $5-6 million budget, about $1 billion is for settlements for these kind of things.
So it's actually allocated for that specific reason.
Yeah, our
$1 billion.
Yeah, the number I heard was 300. Yeah, the number I heard was 300 million. But talking to a cop, they told me that it was really $1 billion. You know, so
specifically for lawsuits because they know it's going to happen.
There's that many lawsuits.
Yeah,
there's $1 billion worth of lawsuits.
That's where our taxpayers' money.
There's $1 billion worth of lawsuits.
So we are paying for police brutality. We are paying to allow this to happen.
But what's concerning is there's that much brutality. There's $1 billion worth of brutality.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, a lot of the settlements that you don't hear about.
Anywhere else in the world, any other company in the world that has to allocate $1 billion of its capital to an issue that's easily controlled, they would do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because we are paying for it.
We're paying for it. So they don't care. They don't care. It's not their money. It's they're using. I mean, this is.
So what if you held them accountable? What if you gave them, or let's say that you gave them a raise? Give them a raise. Yeah. Their hard job is difficult, and I believe that police officers should get paid more. Actually,
yeah, of course, we should have qualified people to be like police officers.
You pay them more.
Yeah,
and you put more training. You invest in that institution more. Yeah. However, when they fuck up.
But that institution was, you know, also developed to police, you know, like the divide, you know, police the races.
Right.
During segregation era.
Yeah. This is where it came out of and developed. And, you know, when you talk about like defunding the police, you know, it seems like getting rid of the police or whatever, right? Or abolishing the police, which is getting rid of the police, right?
Which I think is not smart.
Yeah, well, because
would you want to live in a town with no police officers? Like,
yeah, no, I mean, it cannot be like
that's too extreme.
It's too extreme because it's the air that we breathe. We understand policing, we understand prisons, you know, but this is not how it was before. This was like it's still a recently newly created phenomenon, right? So
having no police.
No, having police.
Oh, okay.
Anything against that, kind of like we're gonna have all these defenses. You know, there are good arguments for it. You know, it's just you have to hear them out. You have to be willing to just listen. You know, before putting up your defenses about why it's whatever. You know, and I think we should be able to have conversations with people that have different viewpoints. You know, to broaden our perspective and make more informed opinions. All right, so. You know, defunding the police sounds like completely getting rid of the police, right? But what it really means is like we're overfunding the police and we need to take those resources and bring them back to other institutions that we've already defunded, like healthcare, like education, schools, you know, and mental health, social services.
You don't think that defunding the police will harm them?
Harm who?
The police department ability to do their jobs?
No, because they're overfunded. You know, there's no reason why our police are militarized.
Okay.
You know, they have a budget, and most of the time when it comes to year end and they have not used their budget, they'll overspend on things that they don't need to make so that they can justify their budget for the following year.
Yeah.
Well, let me play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Right. So as we put more restrictions on police officers. And it's almost like, and some people would argue that it's almost like we're defunding them and we're putting more tighter guidelines and restrictions for police officers. There's an argument out there saying if we do those things, we're essentially asking police officers to go into a boxing match with both hands tied behind their backs. It's a fight that they're going to lose. For example, right now, what's going on, at least what's been reported, crime rate has been up significantly across America. And in New York in particular, where we are, shootings, murders, crime has gone through the roof. Gone through the roof since all of this happened. Where people are just committing crimes and the criminals are not scared. They're not scared of the police. They don't even think they're going to show up half the time. They're like, all right, cool. Well, they're having a field day with this.
Well, like if you look at like the looting that happened during the protests, right? The looting, like the protesters were peaceful protesters protesting all day, right? And a lot of peaceful protesters go home, and then you have these looters, these opportunists, many of them that came from out of the state, out of New York, to come but you had cops all around, but they didn't stop. They were witnessing it and they didn't stop it.
Right.
So, I mean, what good are they if they're not stopping this?
The actual crimes that are happening.
Yeah, that are happening.
Like
but that's the thing. And that's what Kenny was alluding to in our previous podcast is that the tighter restrictions we put on, they're going to feel some type of way. And they're going to go, you know what?
Then they should be fired.
That's
their job.
You get what you asked for. Well, here it is. Yeah, just for example, like what happened at the Wendy's with, what's his name? Rayshard
Brooks.
Yeah. The person that was murdered by the police officer, there was a tussle, and then one thing led to another, and things escalated quickly, and the police officer shot him and he died. Yeah. Right. That area, criminals were able to burn down the restaurant Wendy's, right? Was it a Wendy's?
Yeah.
They burned it down. They burned it down. No repercussions, right? They were able to do a lot of other crimes in that area. And when 911 was called, no police showed up.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that in different pockets of ghetto neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The non-affluent ones. Yeah. Right.
There are neighborhoods that want more policing because of the crime there, but at the same time there is over policing. It's not black and white. That's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of nuances.
That's why we have to be careful. Right?
So you cannot abolish the police without having some kind of community guidelines. The police are just not well equipped, with their 21 weeks of training.
But you know what's going to happen when you abolish the police, Lex?
Yeah.
You're going to have gangs.
Yeah.
That's the natural. Progression of things. And they may not start off as gangs.
Yeah, they're gonna start up as collective neighborhood watches that turn into gangs.
Exactly. Now you have to pay taxes to them. Yeah. Now you owe them. Now those people are gonna have a sense of power.
So abolishing and defunding does not defunding is like a part of abolishing. Defunding just means taking less of taking much of the funding that they have, the overfunding that they have, and bringing it back to educational services, to mental health services, to a lot of the social services that cops are just not equipped to handle. Their 21 weeks of training are not really equipped to handle like some
but they're going to feel some type of way.
That's
crime is up. I mean,
they can feel some sort of way, but they're like, the fact of the matter is that they're not able to handle a lot of these situations. They're just not. Their first response is to pull out a gun and shoot. Meanwhile, we should that's not the.
I have to agree and disagree with both of those points. I agree that a lot of police officers aren't trained. I totally agree with that. For certain situations that normal de-escalation would be a normal route. Most of them are very aggressive.
They're very aggressive,
They just move towards that route right away. However, I've also seen police officers where, because it's a tough job, man.
It is a tough job.
You got to be a psychologist. You got to be a judge sometimes. Because you got to hear the story, make out who was wrong, who was right.
That's why you need to get them
the qualified individuals to do something.
Yeah, because I've seen police officers, right? First-hand experience. When I was a kid, police officers came over to my house, and and there was a big fight in my house. I mean, the police used to come over my house regularly as a kid because when you know we get into fights among my family, get really loud and arguments, and people call the cops on us. So they would come over, but you know, a couple of times we had a good police officers where they sat down, spoke with us, listened to everything, de-escalated, told us to chill out. I mean, and I know that's not the norm, but
it's not the norm.
I want to.
Those are the good cops. Those are the people that should be maybe doing that.
Right.
You know, their function in society, in the community, should be doing that.
Right.
You know.
Right. I mean, is that should be part of the training though?
Exactly. That's my point.
It should be.
I feel
it could be part of the training.
Instead of hiring individual psychologists to be on the scene.
They're going to show up because at the same time, you need someone that's able to be aggressive if needed. Because let's say if you get called into a situation like that, and that's my problem with it. Go, oh no, we got to get these people to handle this because the cop's not equipped for it. Wait, time out. Because a lot of the times those situations can escalate where you need the cops. You know, so I think a police officer needs that Swiss Army knife training. They need to be kind of like the jack of all trades. They may not need to be the master of any of it, but they do need to be the jack of all trades. And that's why I'm all for police being trained more from a psychological perspective, from an emotional control perspective, from a fighting perspective. Because a lot of times if you don't know how to fight, the first thing you're going to do is try to knock the other person out immediately. But if you know how to fight, you're just controlling that person because you're really confident in your physical attributes and what you're able to do. You don't go right for the kill shot right away, right? You know how to de-escalate physically and make someone go, okay, chill, on some big brother shit. You know, if your big brother fights you, you know, you have a little brother, you never try to kill him off the bat because you know you got him. You twist his arm a little bit, make him go, okay, you got it. You know, so I think I'm all for that, but to strip police, but to strip police away from a lot of these things, I think it's very dangerous because I've been out there, I've seen it firsthand. And a lot of these situations on its surface may not appear to go, oh, that's something someone else should handle, not the police officers. But what you don't understand is that it could be a situation that the police may need to be. Maybe it's a psychopath. Maybe it's a motherfucker with 50 guns in his car. You don't know that. You don't know that. You can't just call social services because then social services won't be able to equip with that. And if they're confronted with a criminal, I could tell you something that's really bad is going to happen on the other side. If they see some evidence, they're going to call police. They can't hold them. They don't have weapons. They're fucked. They're kill the witnesses, right? Either that or you witness something and now the suspect got away and now they could do more crime.
You know, I think it's all reasonable. The problem is just the conversations are not being had because people are stuck with one set. You know, if you're not for what I believe in, then you're the enemy, and I don't want to hear from you. You know, and vice versa. You know, and that's just a problem of our society. You know, it's just a real big issue where we're not able to have conversations anymore.
We're not able to have a healthy dialogue without attacking one another. Right? Because I agree with you completely on that. You know, I think we should have a healthy dialogue that's respectful. Right? Because what I see a lot is it begins with the subject matter that they're discussing. Then it snowballs into
personal attacks.
Why you like this and I like that, and then eventually it goes to personal attacks. Now you're not even debating or discussing the point anymore. You're talking about each other. You're trying to hurt each other.
Personal.
You're taking it personal. Now and now you got some serious beef, and then you're going, what in the world just happened? You know, and this goes along with everything.
We've lost touch of our humanity. You know, like I think we just don't understand like the real value and dignity of our own lives, you know, and that we attached it to certain issues and things, right? And that's how we form our identity, but we don't really explore the true value and dignity of our own life. And because we don't understand the true value and dignity of our own life, it's very easy to discount someone else. You know, it's very,
so
very easy.
So you're saying like people don't value themselves. That's why it's like, I see something egregious, like something like George Floyd who gets killed on camera, and to people it's like, well, he was doing something bad, or that's what was the police supposed to do, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a strange experience to like just to be a part of, to see where people are quick to disrespect another person, not give them any respect because they have a different political viewpoint, social viewpoint,
right,
or perspective, and instead of just like, okay, I understand you, I may not agree with you, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna like shun or castigate you. Maybe we can continue to have these conversations and come to some sort of common ground, and move forward, but the moment that we start to shame people, insult people, the point is lost. And then we go back to our echo chambers, where we just are around the people who think exactly the way we do, and we're not able to move our country forward. So even if you like are able to get your points across and get them accomplished, right, you'll also have now another faction of people who don't believe that and are going to work to dismantle what we're working towards. So we have to find a way as a country, as a people, to always find like common ground, commonality, so that we can move forward together, and build upon it and adjust and pivot, but like keep building towards this common goal.
So do you think like what's happening with the marches, the rallies, the protests, is that engendering dialogue? Is that constructive dialogue between these different factions?
What I'm seeing, yes. There's a lot of education that's happening. People are learning about, the system and how it works. People are learning about, systemic racism, right? People are learning about how the Asians are learning about how the model minority myth is used to divide and suppress like other minorities, and we're all used in the system to divide and keep us down, because the reality is that all marginalized people, all marginalized communities combined are the majority. So we have to find ways to support each other and come together, because that's the only way we're going to be able to get real power and bring that power back to the people. They're like, you have people in the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton, he was bringing white people, brown people, black people together, and he was killed by the government. You have like Martin Luther King, right? After he fought for the civil rights, and civil equality, he found that the biggest injustice was in economic inequalities, right? So he was fighting for a guaranteed annual income for every American family,
Black, white, Asian,
everybody, for everyone, right? And the night before he was assassinated, he was like harping on this, that we need financial equality, financial opportunity equality, and that's what happened to like a lot of like the Black communities through redlining. It creates opportunity scarcity in many of these communities. And not just Black communities, there's Latino communities, so where there's a lack of opportunities for certain groups and certain people, and the sins of America have just not been righted. They've not been addressed, and that's why we have all this uproar and rage and protest, because it's like 400 years of systemic oppression in different ways.
So you're saying that people that speak to unity and togetherness become a target?
Yes. If those who are at power benefit from the division, right, then you're gonna stop anyone or any force of unity.
That's crazy.
So but just a simple fact, just knowing, how do you control people? How do you hold authoritative power over people? You divide and conquer.
But I mean, look at folks like Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
He, he's very on that camp of unity. A lot of the things he said was parallel to Martin Luther King, even with the UBI. And you look at Obama, he was also all about unity. I mean, he brought a lot of people together like I've never seen in my lifetime prior to that. And they're both still out here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, why?
I mean, they effectively there was a media blackout, right? There's like...
Not for Obama.
Huh?
Not for Obama.
Yeah, but there are certain issues with Obama's presidency.
I hear.
We killed more innocent people under Obama's presidency than any other presidency. Through drone strikes and, there are a lot of...
Is that a fact?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. On the surface, for sure. It was great to have a black president. It seemed like there are a lot of folks in the black communities who felt like he didn't really do much for black Americans. He had 8 years in office, and then the status of black Americans in our country is pretty much the same as it was before.
Yeah, I heard the same thing about Obama as well, that he could have done more for the African American community during his term, 2 terms.
Yeah.
But then we think about like where he came from. Yeah. He's part of the political system. So he probably made deals that, his hands were tied. He couldn't, he couldn't.
And you also have a Senate, Congress that you have to, there's definitely a lot of progress that was probably blocked as well,
Now, do you think Andrew Yang would have had the same challenges?
Yes and no, because, again, it's hard to demonize like giving money to people, to all people, especially in a place where 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. You're going to have the people like, why are you stopping, going to their representatives? Why are you stopping the money coming to my pocket right now?
Yeah, it's so common sense, UBI. It's like to the...
And that's a problem with it. I think that's a problem with UBI.
The common sense aspect of
exactly.
it.
It's too common sense. Yeah, it makes too much sense.
Yeah, it's like everything needs to be politicized. Yeah. Everything needs to be complicated. And it's like this weird... It's like growing up with a really harsh parent.
Yeah. And
go, well, if I do that for you, you're going to expect it all the time, or you think it's going to be this way. I kind of feel like America's doing that to us in some form or another.
Yeah.
But then like it's going to be hypocritical and show some more leniency towards another group. Right. And for people,
that's why you give it to everyone. Everyone gets it. Even
but
like
that's the problem.
Jeff Bezos gets it. Everyone gets it.
But that's the problem, is because it makes too much sense, and they're going to go, well, we can't do that now.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it's that construct that we have. It something so simple that just makes so much damn sense on so many things, not just UBI. Yeah. We can't implement, and it's so straightforward. Yeah, it's really straightforward, and for whatever reason, whoever's in power, whoever are the decision makers, can't press their hand on the button and go, all right, yeah, that makes total sense. Let's do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many matrices of power and control throughout so many different systems. Right. And it's the fight for like Black Lives Matter, right? It's the fight for equity, and we have to be able to like and with like all the protests, there are so many different political agendas that are thrown into it, and people trying to overtake it, for their own political gains.
When there conspiracies saying that even United States enemies from overseas were coming over here instigating protests and looters.
Yeah.
There was some intrusion on their part.
I mean, I can
certain countries.
I can understand that. I can see that.
There was an FBI investigation going on it as well.
For sure. But America does the same. America
did destabilize economies and other
America
countries.
has destabilized, other like countries and economies. Yeah, I'm sure they have placed other people into power.
It's
we're all playing the same board game.
We are all
except America was really good at it. For the past couple decades.
Yeah, America is like viewed by the world as imperialists. We do it in the name of freedom and democracy. And I think also, what we need to address in our country is that, or just as a people, is that, you know, it's not, it's no longer like just tanks and airplanes and like human to human war. The biggest threats to our country is really cyber warfare, you know, and our technology infrastructures, our security is just so behind the curve. You know, our government is just about like 25 years behind, you know, so we're super, super vulnerable. Our electrical like grid system is super vulnerable. You know, they could send an EMP, right, you know, and just wipe out like, you know,
why wouldn't power. They invest on improving that if that's where our vulnerability lies?
Yeah, well, we got rid of the Office of Technology in 1995.
Right.
You know,
if you just think about the art of war, right? You don't attack where they're strong, you attack where they're weak.
Yeah. So, but the people in power are not concerned about the country. They're concerned about themselves and their friends.
Okay.
Their interest.
Their interest. They're like, you know, so it all comes at the cost of Americans. And it's no wonder because, you know, do you know where the richest metropolitan area in our country is?
It's not New York. Is it Los Angeles? Or
what do you think?
I would assume. Wait, I think I heard
the richest
pop quiz. Hold
metro,
on.
Yeah.
Metropolitan.
Yeah. The wealthiest metropolitan area in our country is DC.
Okay.
Why? Why is it? What does DC produce? DC does not produce anything. It produces lobbyists and politicians. And the lobbyists and the politicians control the spigots of government money and government funding. You know, so like if all of our money like is, and that's the wealthiest area in our country, you know, this money that's for the people is not getting to the people. It's not getting to the communities. You know, the help and the services that are needed for the communities across the country are not getting there, you know?
But don't you, I mean, I get it, but you do have to grease the wheel.
Of course, you have to, yeah, make right. things.
I don't want to pretend like we live in some fairyland. Like, you know, dirty things have to be done for your peace.
Yeah, but
for our peace.
Yeah, but right? You can do it cleanly. I mean, you can achieve the same things.
Like someone's gotta get their hands dirty.
Yeah,
you do have to.
You have to get into the mud. You gotta get into the swamp.
You have to crack a few eggshells to make an omelet. You know.
Yeah. And you mentioned that politics is a dirty business.
Yeah, politics is very dirty. You know, and I found even local politics is even worse. You know.
How so?
I was supporting a candidate.
Can you name drop?
Yeah. I was supporting Stephen Lee for New York State District Assemblyman. He is a whistleblower cop. You know, who found that in the 109th precinct in Flushing that the higher level officers were dealing with, you know, prostitution rings, drug trafficking,
human trafficking as well. Human trafficking.
Yeah, or protecting that, you know, bribes and all that, right? And he went undercover for 3 years with Internal Affairs. Right?
Oh snap!
I went undercover when he found out, like, and brought this up, and then after his investigation or his work, you know, he's put his life on the line, right? Hanging out with gangsters and dirty cops, right? And found that this network of corruption went beyond his precinct and throughout different parts of the NYPD overall network. And Internal Affairs only wanted to go after the low-level people. They didn't want to go after the big guys. So what he did was he went to the media.
Oh shit!
Yeah, and since then he's been harassed. You know, they try to
by who?
By the NYPD. You know, like you don't get rewarded for speaking up or speaking out.
Right.
He's the Agent Serpico.
Agent Serpico, they called him. You know,
Agent Serpico.
Serpico.
I've never even heard of this guy.
You never heard of Serpico?
No, I've never heard of Stephen Lee. I've never even heard of this story.
Yeah, it's an incredible story.
Wait, how did you hear about it?
Well, actually, my brother-in-law, he's running for he was the treasurer for his campaign, and then that's how and
his brother-in-law used to be partners with Steve as the NYPD.
But you said he went to the media with this.
Yeah.
I haven't heard this.
Yeah, because it didn't blow up enough, because...
But
suppression of media.
But this is front page news.
It is front page news. There was...
this
the New
is
York Post
way
picked it
more
up.
interesting knowing that a certain celebrity had plastic surgery or certain celebrity is dating someone else.
Usually that gets the front page, though.
Yeah.
I can't believe something like this is actually happening. Like,
yeah. So, and he's being harassed.
And not being publicized.
Not being publicized, right? So, and then, he wanted to do
wait, is he alive still?
He's alive still, fortunately, right? So he lives in the community, and he's like,
he lives in Flushing.
He lives in Flushing too,
and no cops and gangsters got to him.
Well, I mean, they cleaned it up, so he lived, but they put him on desk duty. They've got him doing BS work, not really being able to help the community. So he's like, okay, I need to run for New York State District Assemblyman.
Right.
The current incumbent, Ron Kim, was originally, people loved it because he was a Korean guy. They thought he was good for the community, but he's in the past several years, all he's done is really make moves for his own political gain. Instead of helping the community. The community is about 80% Asian Americans. Flushing,
Queens,
Flushing, Whitestone, yeah. It brings in so much tax revenue for the city, but what Flushing receives back is next to nothing.
Is that right?
Yeah, it doesn't receive that much back from the government. And it just...
Why is that?
Well, because we don't vote. Asian Americans are the fastest growing group in our country, right? But we have no political power because we don't vote. So because we don't vote, then elected officials don't feel they need to be held accountable to those communities. So they're going to hear out other communities that are voting.
And that makes sense to me.
Yeah. And it makes sense. So that's why we have to wake up to our own power. In our country, Asians have been able to take obstacles. Generally Asians have been able to take obstacles and work around them and thrive. So many Asians have been able to keep head down.
We are a scrappy bunch.
Yeah, work around it and thrive. Work around it. More obstacles, we work around it. Have some communities that help each other out. Work around it, right? But imagine how much more we'd be able to thrive if we understand what our political power is and we can get that power and bring it back to the community.
Oh my gosh.
That's what we need to do. We need to wake up to that. But too many of our people in our community are disenfranchised from politics because they've made it voted for someone, it didn't go through, kind of disheartened,
and they don't feel like they can make a difference.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the button right there. I mean, voting is where the power is. If you want to be heard and you're frustrated and you want to make a difference, it's your vote. You have to make your vote count, because I'll tell you what, these people that want to be elected into office or stay in office, they are going to want the vote, because if your vote or if your demographic has the power to swing the election, you better believe they are going to do what they need to do to make you happy. Yeah.
I mean, it's all about power, and money is connected to all of that, So
it's a fucking game.
Yeah, it's a
crazy game.
So this guy Ron Kim, the current incumbent, is pretty much a dirty politician. He was fighting for nail salons. He's like, oh, you gotta give all this money towards this his lobby nail salons, right? That were fighting against a certain law that was passed that would bring them at a disadvantage. So he said he got them to raise all this money to give to his lobbying firm that he had worked for before he became a politician. All right. And they put out tens and tens of thousands of dollars towards this lobbying group. And he went against his word to these nail salons, So it's just like
a lot of people in politics do that.
They do that, and you need to get rid of them.
They'll tell you ear candy.
Yeah,
and then when it comes time,
they don't represent the voice of the community. They don't care about the people of the community. They only care about their next political move.
And what makes you think Stephen Lee would be different?
Because he's the Asian Serpico. Like Frank Serpico is the cop that went undercover to expose corruption and refused to be a dirty cop. And
so you feel like
because of
those
his character,
actions represent integrity,
of course,
and that it'll translate well into office.
Yeah, because he was not afraid to fight for justice, fight for the truth. even like it's a like him being a cop, you know, and going against the breaking the blue wall. That's you're killing your career.
Yeah.
You're killing your livelihood. You're throwing away all of this these benefits of the brotherhood. You know, you're throwing to speak truth, to fight for what's right, to fight for to better the community, because that you know, it was dark like underworld, Asian underworld really, that, you know, was bringing in all these girls, holding girls captive by taking their passports, threatening their families back in Asia if they didn't, you know, participate in the prostitution, etc. You know, like it was like these are things that are harmful for the community, and he, like, to recognize that and then want to fight out against that despite what would happen to you. That's someone of character. You know, that's someone that is that values the community. That's someone that, like, I can get behind.
How do people go out and vote for him?
It's June 23rd. It already happened.
Already happened.
Yeah. And
damn, we should have had you on before.
No, but it's okay because, and it was interesting because.
What was the results? Did he win?
So he did not win, and it was mainly because of the smear campaign that Ron Kim did against Steve Lee. So he called him a racist, dirty Republican cop, right? And, you know, he was a Republican before, right? But never politically active, didn't really vote, you know, and changed his, like, once he was more politically active, realized that, oh, okay, my views don't align with the Republican Party, switched over to Democrat, started running, right? And this was back in September of 2019. So there's already a lot of anti-cop sentiment in the country, especially in New York. People just don't like the cops, right? And this guy, Ron Kim, all his social media is about, like, demonizing the cops, right? And wanting to get rid of cops, right? And then, you know, to prove his point that Steve Lee is like this Republican, dirty, whatever cop, right? A Trump-loving cop. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You know, how are you going to call the Asian Serpico a dirty cop? It's so ridiculous. But anyway, he goes to the New York State Board of Elections, gets his record, right? And posts his, like, record that's very sparse because he doesn't really, you know, wasn't politically active, right? But included his full address with apartment number, date of birth, email address, you know, essentially.
He sent a hit on him?
Essentially, that's what happened.
Yeah,
right?
and harassment. Yeah.
He sent a hit on him?
Yeah, exactly. How crazy is that? That this is the behavior of people, like, our elected officials. You know, this is you know, and this sets a precedent to.
Is that even legal to do something like that? Isn't that grounds for a lawsuit?
I think so. I mean, he should pursue that, you know, if he's not already, you know, because he's put, like, there's.
You can't put private information out there like that, can you?
Yeah, like, and one, there's anti-cop sentiment. You're stoking the flames of, you know, this anti-cop sentiment. You're falsely accusing this guy of being a racist, Republican, Trump-loving, dirty cop.
Enough. I don't know much about either guy.
Yeah.
But enough people voted for Ron Kim, you said?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, also there's the COVID, there's the COVID crisis that happened, the pandemic. Well? So you have a lot of people that didn't come out. You know, like Steve Lee couldn't campaign going around to different like churches or organizations to really get out the vote. I mean, he was still able to get at least 30%, you know, of the vote, which is incredible for someone that no one really knew. First run, you know. But people who did know him really liked him.
Wait, so if Ron Kim is accused of all this, again, I don't want to make anyone guilty.
Yeah, sure.
But if he is, are these, you know, these accusations are very strong.
Yeah, because people are not engaged. People like have lost engagement.
Shouldn't he be arrested? Shouldn't he have been?
So now
internal affairs. So if there were proof that he was part of this prostitution ring.
No, Ron Kim was not part of the prostitution ring.
No. Okay.
Yeah. No, that was the NYPD.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry then. I'm mixing up. I'm mixing up the stories.
There's two separate stories.
Yeah. So let's stick with Ron Kim then. So he's just more out for himself.
Yeah.
And not for the community. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, and a lot of his support comes from outside of the community.
Okay.
You know. So, but he has name recognition. You know, like because we're not engaged. Politically engaged or civically engaged enough, we don't see how certain policies affect our daily lives.
Right. So why do you care so much about this? Because you don't live in Flushing.
Yeah. So I care like deeply about this because it's our people. It's our community. And when I was volunteering for Andrew Yang, I found like, there's so much power in politics. There's so much untapped power, in our communities and we're the fastest growing group in America, but we're not like taking this power, back and bringing it to our people.
So you see this huge void in the system. With Asian Americans in particular. And you feel like this is a space that we should fill.
We all should
participate
but people in general. Like young people don't participate, in any of the politics. And I feel like we're all discouraged from participating in it because, the less you participate, the more those can hold power and do the fucking bullshit that they want to do, without any scrutiny. So you'll have maybe some watchdog agencies that'll make noise, but it's not enough to move the people because the people don't understand how that affects their day-to-day lives. And if also 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, they don't have the bandwidth to care. Right. There's a lot that's going on that we just don't have enough to care about. And then when you start caring about something, and then when we start caring about something and start speaking truth to power, then you have other factions of people who want to maintain that power or maintain their political motives and will gather around and make lies and make it whatever and then start attacking you. Right. I was like the week leading up to the election, I was the subject of attack, false allegations, slander, libel, like by these group of people that I did not know because I was supporting a person that they did not like. Steve Lee.
You were supporting Steve Lee?
Yeah. And I was vocal about
it. And I guess the Ron Kim gang went after you hard?
Yeah, they went after me hard. They tried so I did my first Asians for Black Lives Matter march, right? And I was only expecting like 200 people to show up, based on like the invites and the confirmed attendings, right? So and the morning, and I worked my ass off to make this happen, and I was the only one really doing it. And the morning of, these group of people, I had no idea this was happening too, until like 2 p.m. Right. But like an hour before the rally was supposed to start. But the morning of, they had made a lot of noise on Twitter and on social media.
How do you know it's Ron Kim's group though?
Oh, because if you look back and you see the support and
it's connected somehow.
You could connect the dots.
Yeah, definitely connected. And because they tried to say that they tried to sabotage the rally that I was doing. Saying that this was all a political ploy to support Steve Lee, this cop candidate, like this, a cop is trying to co-opt this movement. This guy from LA who doesn't even live in New York, he just want to push this agenda, this and that. I'm like, the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, that's crazy to say because if what you say is true, I mean, people could look at his resume easily online, find a couple of articles that.
But nobody does. Nobody cares. No one cares enough to research. So you're talking about
everybody is voting based on headlines.
People are voting on headlines. People are voting on their emotions. People are not in general. People as a society, they're not taking the time to take in nuances, take in gray areas. People are looking for things that support their viewpoints.
Right. And also with Ron Kim, I would have to assume that he's got the Korean vote on lock. Right?
Yeah.
Because I know Koreans support each other extremely hard.
To their own detriment too. Because what happened in the LA riots, right? You had a Korean woman shop owner.
They go hard for one another, Koreans. They support the shit out of each other.
So, and what happened with the LA riots, right? Especially was that, this Korean shop owner killed the black girl in a shop for stealing or whatever it was, right? And instead of the community saying that, oh, it was wrong, the community came and backed the shop owner that killed this girl.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So then when the Rodney King stuff happened, and also this
was before Rodney King.
Yeah, before Rodney King. And I think the woman also was not there was no justice for the girl. The woman was let go, without any repercussions. the shop owner, right? So there's a lot of anger, you know, it's like, how can you kill a black person, whatever. And then that's why like they aimed at Koreatown.
All right, let's try to get the full picture here. Why did she? Was it just random? She was just straight up hateful prejudice?
No, because I think it was like she was stealing or something to that effect.
So she was stealing in her shop, and then she decided
to shoot her dead.
Yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, to shoot her.
Instead of calling the
so
cops.
instead of like calling the cops, or instead of, and instead of the like Korea community like saying, oh, pointing out like, oh, this is wrong, this is not cool. They're like, they just rallied behind her, you know.
Wait, so she wasn't starting a fight or anything? Like she just took something from the store, put it in wherever, and then she was leaving, and then she got shot?
Yeah, from my understanding. I forgot, like, yeah.
Or did a tussle ensue? And,
I don't think a tussle
she was getting her ass whooped, and then she needed to defend herself. And then
So from what I saw,
what's the context of that?
Yeah.
Right?
From what I saw and what I remember, you know, and I can be completely wrong too, right? And you know, I just remember that part is her killing this person.
Right.
It was a wrongful killing, you know, and then the community getting behind this wrongful like incident.
Because I can't understand, like, I don't know if a community would back someone if someone just put something in their pocket and they were leaving the store and then they all of a sudden killed them. I don't know if the community would be that strong against it. I don't know.
Yeah,
but that to me sounds kind of crazy.
It is.
That's a crazy escalation. If that's what happened.
But that's like that fueled like why Koreatown burned.
Right. But if she was getting her ass whooped and she needed to defend herself, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
Like if someone comes into my home, tries to take something, and I'm disarming or I'm trying to protect myself and my family.
Yeah.
And I get in a fight with this person, and I'm getting my ass whooped. And I'm like, well, I need to win this fight because I'm not giving up my home. This is my property or my store or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going to take out a gun and I'm going to kill them. I'm going to shoot that person.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know but if I'm shooting, I'm shooting to kill. I'm not shooting to, you know, I want that person to stop whatever they're doing, attacking. Yeah. So I don't know that.
I don't think it was like clear. Like I don't think it was a self-defense move.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think like because I kind of generally feel the same way, not to like a little bit, not to the extent that you do, but like I generally do. And if I had saw like, you know, there was like self-defense, I feel like I would be more sympathetic towards it, you know, but
because I'm talking about the eyes of the law. Forget about what my personal feelings are, right? I don't think any killing is cool. Yeah. Right? If you could avoid it, certainly avoid it. You know, a life is worth more than a bracelet. Yeah. All right?
By far.
So let's chill with that. But if it's something like if someone's being physically attacked and you just need to protect yourself, I get it.
No, I get that. That was not.
But like, I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, from what I remember looking into it, that was definitely not the impression that I got.
Way too extreme. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but that seems kind of crazy, right? To just shoot someone.
I think this was covered. This was covered in the Asian Americans PBS series.
It was.
Yeah. So
because you guys saw it. What did they say? No,
that part I don't remember.
Yeah, I think this was covered or somewhere else where I watched this with an extent. But that was not the impression was not self-defense.
So they're saying that was the catalyst for the LA riots.
Well, for them attacking K-Town.
Koreatown.
Yeah.
So a bunch of black people who were pissed off in the community
from
that
wanted justice. Yeah, and it's like
for just things that just eventually hit a boiling point.
Yeah.
Everything just added up and they said, you know what? Screw that.
Yeah.
We're tearing this shit down.
Yeah. So, you know, it's just a matter, you know, it's the truth of it is there is no justice for black people really in our country. You know, black lives do not matter in our country. That's why you're clawing out for black lives, you know, matter. You know, that Black Lives Matter does not mean other lives do not matter. You know, it's like right now, Black lives do not matter. So that's why we're screaming out Black Lives Matter.